Hey, welcome everybody to the Side by Side Business Podcast, episode number 30. We are Larry and Sue Pruitt. We are your hosts. And I like the new name.
I do too. It rolls right off the tongue.
It is much easier to say. Yes.
It totally is. Yep.
So if you don't understand that, you have to go back one episode when we discussed our new name.
Yes.
So
absolutely.
All right. Well, today's episode, the topic is, and it was an email that I had received from somebody I don't know at all.
Right.
And somebody had referred.
They were referred. Yeah.
Yeah. Somebody referred this gentleman to me. I assume because we work with married couples.
Yes, I'm sure that's why.
Yes. So I think, I'll take that as a compliment.
Absolutely.
So this person, this gentleman, he sent me this note, this email asking for some advice. And we just thought that it would be something good for us to talk about in a little bit of a longer form here in a podcast episode. I did respond, or not respond. I mean, I responded to him, yes. But I also put it into a newsletter format. So if you're on our newsletter list, you've already maybe seen this, but podcast is just a lot easier to go into more depth.
It totally is. Yeah. And this is what he shared with you is something that I bet is more common than one might think.
Right. And hence, that's why we think it's worthwhile talking about here.
Mm-hmm.
So he started off by just saying, I have a tricky situation. I have not told my wife that I started my new online business.
Okay, stop. Hold on a second.
Red flags are going up.
Yes.
Yes.
This is I think people have done this before.
Sure.
And we talk about this all the time. The most important thing to business is relationships. And the most important relationship in your life is your marriage, if you're married. And so this is something that, he's recognizing it's a sticky situation. I'm glad for that, because some people would just push on through and not realize how sticky this could be.
I think that's a great place to start, is that this person has recognized the mistake that he's made. And now he's like, whoops, what do I do? Because you can't undo things, right?
That's right.
We've all been in that position.
Can't go back.
It's like, I really wish I could rewind, put those words back in. The whole thing about you squeeze the toothpaste out of the tube. You can't shove it back in, right?
Nope.
And so that's where he's at. And so if anybody is listening or watching and you've kind of made some sort of a mistake like this in your relationship, you just got to recognize it. You got to figure out what to do next. So he's reaching out for help.
Exactly.
And again, I have responded and provided what I think is some help. And
now he helped because he gave a little bit of a background / excuse for why he did that.
Yes, right. And he said that his wife tends to be very skeptical and negative about these kinds of things.
So
there's a history there.
To some extent, I'll say I understand the hesitation.
Yes.
I won't excuse what happened there, but the hesitation is coming from, he's not sure his wife is going to believe in what he's doing. And then he shared even a little bit more background to say, I've tried similar things before and lost money at them. Aha. The wife has a reason to be skeptical about this type of thing. Now, so here's some things that can be coming into play. It can be a personality thing. Sure. He gets all excited about something. He wants to try something new. She, with the memories of what has happened in the past, says, we got to make sure that doesn't happen again. And they both can come at this conversation a little bit over strong and trying to steamroll over the other one, or trying to control the situation, or trying to control the other person. That's not going to get you anywhere good.
I think that's a great point, because we can assign motives to other people very easily. And if I say something and you react a certain way, I can assume what is going on in your mind and all that. And I could be like way off.
Exactly.
It was not that long ago, about 3 minutes before we hit record, that we were talking. We're like, I think we were having two separate conversations at the same time, because I normally just think I just wasn't communicating well.
Well, we had two different understandings of a topic that we were talking about. And so here's what you do when you recognize that you are coming at a topic from two different angles and maybe not communicating with each other, but rather talking past each other. It's time to pause and say, okay, wait a minute, we got to get on the same page here. So what are we thinking? What's happening? And figure out, what were you thinking there? What was happening? And
because I'm not kidding. It was right before we hit record. And my first, like the first fleeting thought that comes into my mind is either, I mean, it's always something negative, right? I mean, it's just, we're sinful people. I hate that part of myself, but it is what happens. I'm just being honest here.
Yeah.
You know, the first thought is you're not listening, or that you said something before, now you're totally changing it and you're making it sound like you didn't say that before, and you're trying to make me think I'm crazy, or I don't know.
And here I am thinking, no, I know what I said, and what you think I said isn't what I said. And so, so
at that point,
so then I have to recognize, apparently I didn't say it very clearly. So, true confessions, sometimes I try to be short and succinct with things, and I end up saying things that come across in a totally different way from what I mean. And so I have to take the time to talk longer. And
in your defense, we had like 19 things going on this morning whenever that first conversation came up.
Yep.
And really there were more pressing things like right in front of us. But I was talking about something that was for later on. And so that was another tip to take away, is like, just focus on the one thing right now and then deal with the other thing later. Right. So the good news is that we're still here side by side. And now we're in harmony because we talked about that misunderstanding that we had, and we got everything straightened out. And we can laugh about it. Yeah. For the most part.
Absolutely.
All right. So
minutes after it happened. Okay. So
continue on with the note then.
Exactly.
Because it's really interesting, because I'm getting this short note, and you know that there's just a lot behind all this. And again, not assigning motives, not jumping to conclusions. So then he does say that he's always had this entrepreneurial drive. All right. So he's entrepreneurial, but she is not. And
apparently not. Like, that's the idea that we're getting from this note, is that she's not. Either she's totally not, or she's just like, I haven't seen it work yet. Yes. And so, one of those two things is possibly going on with her.
Yeah, for sure. So then his reaction to that is really fascinating to me, because he said, I have this entrepreneurial drive that I've tried to shut down, but it just keeps coming back.
Yeah.
I mean, how many entrepreneurs out there are saying, hey, man, I get it. Like, I can't shut it off.
Yeah. I think the mistake he makes is that he looks at this as a binary choice. I either have to shut it off or I have to follow it completely.
Yeah.
And when you think of it that way, it's hard to bring somebody else in on that, especially somebody that you think is going to tell you to do the thing you don't want to do. So, he's assuming that his wife is going to be skeptical, that she's not going to want him to do it, and she's going to talk him out of it.
Yeah.
And he doesn't want that to happen. So he did another thing that wasn't a good idea, which was start this business without telling her.
He kind of snuck around behind her back.
Yeah. That is probably what it will feel like to her.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Yes. And just to be clear, we don't believe in that in any part of life. I mean, we've heard stories of people who have, like, one of the spouses has gone to open up a separate bank account and put money there, and open up credit cards and gone greatly into debt on those cards just in that person's name. So it can happen in many different areas of life. And, I don't know how he even did it. They were probably both very busy people and such. And he's just probably doing the job on the side, just an hour here, hour there type thing. But that just seems like, man, that just seems miserable to me.
Well, it does, because now you've got deception built on top of the stress of starting a new business. So that's not gonna serve you well. Yeah. It's not gonna serve you well in any way, shape, or form. And so thinking about how to approach that conversation with his wife, obviously the best, it's just like the saying the best time to plant an oak tree is 20 years ago. Second best time is today.
Yeah.
So the first best thing he should have done was talk to his wife before he started the business, and the two of them get on the same page about it before the business ever gets started. That didn't happen. So we need to start with where we're at today.
Yeah.
So what does he need to do today?
Well, I mean, he needs to have that really difficult conversation. He needs to fess up. He needs to, you had some good ideas on how he should approach her. I think from the woman's perspective, I think that would be super helpful for you guys who have, or find themselves in a similar situation.
Right. I think it's wise when you know you're going into a conversation that is going to be really difficult. I think there's a couple things you do to prepare ahead of time. First of all, you get your thoughts together. Don't go in guns blazing. Don't go in to try to shut down the other person or anything like that. The second aspect of that is I think he can pray for his wife's heart, that she is ready to hear what he has to say and ready to have a conversation about it and not shut down and walk away.
Yeah.
Because that could be a reaction that could happen. Because honestly, as soon as he says the words, I've started a new business, she's going to realize there's been some trust that has been broken here. Right. And that is going to be tough for her to absorb. And so for him to approach her gently, I even think it's wise to say, we need to have a conversation about something, and you're probably going to be unhappy with me, but I want to work things out. I want to get things, right again. That lets her know, okay, there's probably something I'm going to be unhappy about here, but we are going to be able to talk through this and get it worked out. And this isn't a, my way or the highway thing.
And I definitely, in my response to him, I suggested that he do an awful lot of listening in this conversation. And that goes back to not assigning motive, because he is probably thinking she doesn't want me to do this because A, B, C, D. I would guess that he's probably wrong about at least one or two of those motives. And we can talk more about that as we go here. But I think the big thing is, we need to listen more than what we talk. So I think, like what you were saying, I think is really, really good. Like even have a 3x5 index card or something and just write down some bullet points and even say something like, honey, I want to say a couple things that'll take me a minute or less. And then I want to hear from you. And so there's the initial thing of what has happened, and definitely the words, I am sorry for doing that. Please forgive me, are super important.
Absolutely.
Not like if I upset, no ifs.
Yeah.
All right.
A real apology.
I know this was wrong.
Yeah.
And so please forgive me.
Yeah.
That, and then to say, I want to have a deeper conversations about running a business and finding out what your objections are. And I want to hear from you on that. And this conversation may be a whole lot of him listening and just, and maybe it'll take her a little bit of time to get her thoughts together too. She may need to think about it a little bit.
Right.
That's certainly fair. But I think we go into those conversations loaded and ready to, I know these are your objections and I'm just going to tell you why you're wrong. And we just can't do that. I mean, not very well.
Absolutely not, because we're probably going to miss the mark on at least one of those things. And we may ignore something that she actually places higher value on than any of the things that you end up talking about. So listening is super important in this. I mean, obviously, you've probably heard it before. God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth. So listen more than you talk and give opportunity for the other person to share as well.
And, and I don't know if we necessarily need to go through more of the exact line by line, but he does say that they both have good jobs. And they seem to have plenty of money. So now she may still be like, well, I don't want you to wasting money.
Right.
Even if they've got plenty of it. But it likely is not just about the money. Well, I'm 100% sure it's not just about the money.
Of course not.
Is why, again, going back to like, why is she against him starting a business? But then, that would just be fascinating to hear what she has to say. Is it the time that he's being pulled away from the family? Is it the fact that he's not kind of present? So he's so preoccupied thinking about a new business that she feels, not listened to, not heard, that type of a thing.
I
So,
think it's possible a protective instinct comes up in her and she thinks, I don't want you to be disappointed with another failure.
mm,
I think that could
yeah,
be, it could be part of it. I don't know. I don't know her. She hasn't shared with me what her thoughts are around that. And so it's hard to know without them talking. So I think that he is going to have to, again, talk, share this with her, have a conversation and listen a lot so that he can learn. Who knows if the motive that he has assigned to her is even correct?
yeah.
And
I mean, there's no doubt that, I mean, we're entrepreneurs.
yes,
Entrepreneurs can be crazy, can be
can be.
flighty, can be, there's always the next thing, always the
Mhm.
next idea, the next
Mhm.
thought. And for the non-entrepreneur, that can be really exhausting. I mean, we have the issue that we're both entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
And so that means we have double the number of ideas and double the number of thoughts, and
At least.
at least. And then we feed off of each other, and then
Mhm.
that can be a source of conflict at times as
Yeah.
well. But when one is always looking for that next thing, and the other one is just wanting some stability in life,
Mhm. Mhm.
schedule wise,
Right.
money wise, whatever, then
Mhm.
obviously there's a source of conflict there.
Exactly. Exactly. So you mentioned that you shared some of this information with our email list
Correct.
in our newsletter, and you asked people to respond.
Yes.
And what were their thoughts? Because
Yes.
we knew that people might think about this in other ways, even than what came to mind for us.
Right.
And we were right.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, we got a really nice response that I did ask for permission to share the information with here. Obviously, no names or anything like that. But we got, I think, maybe a really good insight from the
Mhm.
wife's perspective
Yeah.
on this situation.
It was really, really fascinating to me. So in this couple's situation, one of the things is she talked about that they have young children.
Yes.
And her husband, while he is at work, he has the opportunity to take in a lot of information. She talked about listening to podcasts. I mean, you can
Yes.
take it in through blog posts, YouTube videos, whatever.
Yeah.
And so he will go to work, do his work, and take in this information. And he comes home really excited, maybe about some new opportunity or new idea or new twist that they can put on their business. For her, these were her words, which I thought were so cool. The nature of my work doesn't allow me to take a 5-minute bathroom break without a mom at the door. I can so relate to that.
Yes. That's so funny because, I mean, we are beyond that stage.
Yes.
But we're not so old that we can't remember that
we
stage.
remember it so well, so well. The in this situation, the wife is making a million tiny decisions every day, and that's exhausting. And there's no time to think and be creative when you're in the midst of this season of life. It doesn't last forever. Once you get out of it, you realize it really didn't even last all that long. I mean, we had 5 kids, so it lasted a little bit longer than people who have only 1 or 2 kids, but it still didn't last that long for me. I did get to the place where now I can think a little bit more and be more creative. But what she was talking about was my husband gets all these things going in his mind, and he comes home like ready to have this great big conversation about it. And she's like, I'm still in the mode of, can I please go use the bathroom without interruption?
And I can relate to what the husband, what he's doing. And because we've had times in our business where I've been out all day by myself, and I've been consuming a lot of material as well, podcasts and such. And I remember that there was one time that I was sending you some links of some ones because I really wanted you to listen to them, and you very kindly just said, "Stop,"
because like, I'm never going to listen to all these today.
It's piled up now. Like there's 14 or 47 hours worth of podcasts we listen to. But I was thinking, she could be listening to it while I was out, and then we could have then the frame of reference to discuss. But didn't realize how many of them I had been sitting to her within a 24-hour period of time.
Yes.
But so there's kind of that frustration also. And, for me to try to summarize, if it's an hour-long podcast, for me to try to summarize that, sometimes then I'd get frustrated that you weren't nearly as excited about it
Yeah.
as I was. And I'm like, okay, I probably didn't do it much justice. So,
Mm,
so I can definitely see where this couple, where they're coming from, that
mhm.
potential for that conflict there.
Yeah, yeah. And one of the things that she expressed, one of the phrases that she used is she said, I feel like his new interest is separating us,
Mm,
which we know this couple.
yeah.
That is not his desire at
Right.
all.
Hmm.
He doesn't want that to happen. And so it is something, though, that a wife can feel, well, whoever is the one that's
Right.
not,
Hmm.
constantly with the new ideas, they can feel like, well, this is pulling you away from me. And again, the marriage is the most important relationship in your life.
Yeah.
And so that is something that needs to be addressed. He could say and do some things to reassure her. No, you are the most important
Correct.
thing to
Yes.
me.
Hmm.
I'm not going to let this separate us. I'm not wanting to pull, I'm not wanting to turn away from you. I'm not wanting to turn away from the family. This is just something I want to add. And having that conversation would probably be really important for them.
Yeah. And I just think some of the other things that we've talked about many times before kind of plug in here very well. And that is to be dreaming together,
Yes.
to have that same vision together, to be moving the
Mhm.
same direction. And honestly, then that's the other thing is we all have this shiny object syndrome, or we can have that. And so I think it's fair game if, um, like in our example, like if I've come up with this new, bright, new, shiny
Mhm.
thing that I want to do, I think it's fair game for you to say to me, like, hold on, that's not the path that we've chosen to go on. And that would be a good reminder, like, okay, keep some sort of a file for someday, right?
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
and maybe we'll take down that path later, but we got to build the first path first.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So,
Yeah. And the whole thing of feeling like it's separating them,
mm,
I think that's the potential that we see with business and marriage is that sometimes the business can interfere with the
mm,
marriage. And that's the thing that you want to stop it always. You want to
yeah,
make sure that never happens. The marriage interfering with the business a little bit, the business can survive that. That's
yeah,
okay. You can overcome that. But the business interfering with the marriage, that hits us at a deeper level, at who we are, at our family level. And so especially it tends to be the wife who is the one who's feeling the nurturing urge, wanting to make sure everything is okay for her, for the children, for you as a couple, for the family unit. And so allowing her space to express that. And sometimes I think this is really wise. When a wife is feeling that way, the husband has to be willing to say, okay, I'm going to turn the business stuff off for a little bit.
yeah,
And I'm going to give my whole focus to the family.
yeah,
And I think the wife saying, can you turn that off for this time, for now? And we talk about it at this time. If
right.
he knows I'm going to get to talk to you about it later, that makes it a little easier for him to turn it off now,
I
and
think,
vice versa.
and I think to summarize that in a word, it's boundaries.
Oh, yeah,
To establish
that's
those
better.
boundaries. So it could be a certain time of day. It could be a certain day of the week. Just for example, we encourage couples to have weekly dates. And for us, everything was always on the table. Like we could talk business, kids, whatever. Some couples like to say like this is off, out of bounds, to
Mm-hmm.
discuss this during this time because we need to focus on something different. So, you set your rules on what works good for your relationship. But I think it's good to say, let's not talk about business during this time
Mm-hmm.
for this season, and but then we know that we've got this weekly meeting set up, for
Mm-hmm.
example. So we got weekly date night, then we've got this weekly business meeting set up. So
Mm-hmm.
that way, again, I think it's really important to write things down,
Yes.
keep track of things so you don't forget it because I'm guilty of that. Sometimes I just want to blurt it out because I'm afraid I'm gonna forget it,
Yes.
even though it's like, well, there's 20 other more pressing things right at the moment. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
keep that notepad with you and jot those things down. So
Yes, absolutely. And you will probably never get to all of your ideas, and that's okay. But
right.
but capturing those ideas is very helpful because they will all feed into the big idea that you pursue and that you're able to build up into a successful business that you dream about having. And
I'm pretty sure that whoever dies with the most ideas wins.
I'm not sure that's a thing. Oh boy.
That's why I keep compiling
I
all
might
these
have to talk to our
ideas.
editor about this section.
No, keep it in, keep it in.
Uh,
So is there anything else in that note that we wanted to make sure we covered, or?
I think that it's important that both of you who are in the couple, both the husband and the wife, you guys need to both be, oh, I don't know if this is a bad word to use. You both need to be validated in your feelings. You need to have space for your feelings. You need to be able to express your feelings. And you need to express your feelings in a way that is honoring to your spouse. So I think both things need to happen. I think that it is super important when you have been created with an entrepreneurial streak that you figure out, how do I pursue this entrepreneurial streak and honor my marriage at the same time?
And I think it's important to, like, our opinion, and I think this has probably come through in all of our podcast episodes, but we think entrepreneurship is an honorable thing to do. It's an honorable profession. And it makes me sad to, in that original note we had from that husband, for him to say that he keeps trying to squash that.
Yeah.
And I think his heart behind that is he knows his wife doesn't like it. He's trying to squash that. And so there is a middle ground in there somewhere. I love how you said it's not binary.
Right.
I think too many things in life, we approach it that way. It's all of this or all of that. And there is a middle ground in there for that couple. But I definitely told him that that may not be right now. Like, if she is really hurt by what he has done, if she really feels betrayed,
Right.
he needs to give up that business. We always say that the business can fail, but the marriage cannot.
Exactly.
And so if that business is between you as a couple, then that business goes away and come back at it another day, maybe.
Yeah.
It just depends on the circumstance. But
chances are, if he honors his wife and her feelings and her opinions, that will come back.
Yes.
It will be able to come back around.
Yep.
None of these decisions is permanent. The only permanent decision that you've made as a couple is to stay married.
Amen. Yep.
That's the covenant that you took before God and people. And so that's the thing that you need to honor. All the other things will come and go. They'll even a business that you run for most of your adult life is going to have a life cycle, and it will end at some point. You'll either pass it on to somebody else or sell it, or it will just end because it's something that you no longer want to do. But that marriage, you're going to stay in for life, and so you want to make sure that that's your primary focus on protection and honoring and making sure that you build into your marriage first above everything else.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, this has been it's been fun for us, I think, to kind of think through this because there's just so many layers to it. It was a very interesting question, and as of the recording of this, I don't know what the result is from this particular individual that reached out to me, and
we're definitely praying for
we're
him
praying,
and his wife.
praying for them and for a good outcome and for them to have a deeper connection when it's all said and done, because God does use those difficult circumstances and bad things to turn things around and to turn it to good.
Well, and to draw you closer as a couple. If he comes at this well, then God will use this to draw him and his wife closer to each other as a result. So I look forward to hearing that report.
Yeah, for sure. So we enjoyed getting this. Hated that they're in that circumstance, but we enjoyed the opportunity. And so it just kind of makes me think also, if you who are listening or watching, if you have any questions or any topics you'd like us to discuss, please send them our way. I hope you see that we handle this very discreetly, no names, no shaming or anything like that. And so we want you to feel comfortable to reach out to us, and we want to help in any way we can. And we're happy to, again, sometimes it's easy to type something up, a fairly short response, and sometimes you need to sit down and talk about it for 20 or 30 minutes like what we've done here today. So
absolutely. And we read every email.
Yes.
We read every comment. So please let us know your thoughts on this. And we'll also ask that if you enjoyed this or if you found it beneficial to you, that you would give us a like, that you would subscribe on your favorite platform, whether it's YouTube or podcast platform, and that you would give us a rating. We would very much appreciate that. That really helps people to find us, and you'll bless other people because it'll make it easier for them to find us.
Absolutely. So I think that'll be a wrap for today. And until next time, just continue to work to be building your dream business.
Side by side.
Take care.
See ya.